Perfect one. Okay. First thing you probably notice in this is that it's a painting. Good use of color. You probably thought that this isn't an ancient painting because ancient paintings look like this, or they're lost to us because the paint all wore off. You probably notice that there is a man here who's shackled. His arms right there and there are preventing him from being moved. You probably notice that this male figure right here is put even more chains on him. You might have noticed these instruments down here, which makes it look like a hammer and some tongs, the kind of things that a blacksmith would have. You might then have concluded, wait for it, that this man up here is a blacksmith. You probably noticed this figure up too in the top right corner, that he has a hat with wings on it. He has a really cool looking staff, both with wings and snakes wrapped around it. You might have also, it's kind of dark, so you might not be able to see this, but maybe when I zoom a little bit, whoops. Sorry. Is that there's a bird up here, a blackbird. So putting all those things together, you might have concluded, well, this is a guy that's chained up. Here's a guy who's building the chains and putting him down. So if you guessed it, this is Prometheus, who's being punished. This is Hephaestus or Vulcan, the blacksmith, building the chains for him. This is the vulture or other sort of bird waiting to eat his liver. And then this is Mercury or Hermes, the messenger of the god, who we could deduce is probably about to transport him. You probably also might have noticed the forge, the fire in the background going along with Hephaestus here. And again, if you didn't guess those things, no problem. Okay. You probably noticed that this one is a painting. And judging by the shapes and sizes, if you're familiar at all with ancient art, you probably figured out that this is a Greek vase, which it is. You'll notice that there are only a couple of different colors, and that the figures are drawn in a very simplistic way compared to, say, a painting like this that is fairly realistic. You probably notice that there's a female figure over here, and what appears to be a male figure here. She looks like she's surprised or angry or upset or shocked. He doesn't really appear to be reacting much, although his arms are up. But of course, the most important thing, and the strangest thing that's in this painting, and probably the first thing that grabbed your attention, was it appears as though there is a woman in a dress with a shield and a spear and a helmet popping out of this guy's head. So you might have described her as a miniature person. Again, wearing a dress, yet having a shield and a spear, although the spear looks kind of strange here. You might have noticed that she does have a helmet on, although the helmet might be obscured inside these decorations. These are just decorative, if you guessed what they were. Your guess is as good as mine, as I can't really tell what they are. Frequently, Greek vases just have patterns or geometric patterns to decorate the edges of them. You also might have noticed that his skin is dark and her skin is very light, and this figure's skin is also very light, so if you didn't figure out at first that she's a woman, she is. Oftentimes in Greek vase paintings, the female figures have much paler skin than the male figures do, which reflects a lot about ancient Greek society. But anyway, if you guessed that this is the unique and strange birth of Athena, you guessed correctly, or you recognized it. All right, next one here. All right, first thing you notice is this looks like it's outside. That is, the sky is the background. And this appears to be a sculpture made of stone. A man, male, very muscular, in shape, strong, yet old. The beard, the hair, the look on his face make it look like he's old. Not feeble, not weak, but aged. Powerful, clearly powerful. That is, he looks like he lifts weights, a lot of weights, frequently. Or he doesn't have to lift weights because he's just that strong. You probably noticed that there's a 3-pointed item in his hand. Perhaps you thought it was a pitchfork. It's a lot like a pitchfork. You might have also noticed that he appears to be on a clam shell or something like that comes from the ocean. You might have noticed this, which kind of looks like a fish or it looks like a dolphin if you look at the snout out here. And if you took all that together and you noticed strong male presence, beard, hair, items associated with the ocean, and this 3-pronged spear called a trident, if you thought that this was Poseidon or Neptune, you were correct. Okay, now this. You probably recognize that this looks like it's made of stone. It is. You might have recognized the style of artwork, which is called a relief sculpture, which is 2-dimensional, yet the sculpture sticks out a little bit from the wall. You probably noticed in the relief sculpture that there's a chair, or perhaps you called it a throne. You probably noticed the chicken. You probably noticed these, which look like fruits, plants, vegetables. Maybe you recognize them as grains. You might have said they were wheat or corn or something like that. You probably noticed that there are 2 people sitting there on the chair or throne, one appearing female and one appearing male. You might have noticed that the male figure appears to have a beard and looks aged, kingly perhaps, and that perhaps you guessed that this was his wife. And that there's a chicken there, there's grains or wheat there, and you might have put together an association with food. You might have seen this spear right here. And in case you guessed, or you deduced what the correct answer is, this is Hades or Pluto, the king of the underworld. And this is his wife, Persephone, who is the daughter of Demeter, the goddess of agriculture. All right. And then on this one, you might have recognized that it was a vase painting. The fact that it's just 2 colors, red and black. The fact that there is a circular decorative border around it. These are kind of like hallmarks of vase paintings. If you're not familiar with vase paintings, that's no problem. I'm going to talk all about them. You probably noticed that there are 2 figures in this. You might have even zoomed in and seen some Greek letters here that would give away who she is. Here's a female figure, here's a male figure. You'll see that they're both with staffs, but yet he is standing and she is sitting. If you notice that she is sitting, that's really important. Look at this chair, or maybe you called it a throne. You probably noticed how elaborate her staff is. And if the imagery of the staff reminded you of a peacock, you're correct. If you then use that information, and maybe the letters right next to her face, and maybe the fact that she's seated on a throne, and that she does have what appears to be sort of like a crown or something like a crown, you might have deduced that this is the queen of the gods, Hera or Juno. If you did, you're correct. And this is actually the Titan Prometheus. It says it in Greek letters here, who, if you, I kind of mentioned it a few times talking about the Titans. He actually aided the Olympians in the war against the Titans. He gave fire to man. He's actually the one being punished a few slides before this, but here it looks like he's just having a conversation with Hera. And those were the slides. So if you did accurately gather who each of them were, good job. If you had no idea who any of those people were by looking at the pictures, that's fine too, because now we're going to go through each one of them. But I'm going to keep giving you some random slides of art without the background knowledge first, so that you can use your mental powers to kind of deduce what's going on the slide, because that's going to be an activity that we do all throughout mythology this year. All right. Bene, valete omnes.